This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's family.
All right, why can we not have nice stuff in Arizona sports? It was just over 24 hours ago. We were ready for Kevin Durant's home debut. He twists an ankle. He's out 3 weeks. Let's hear from one of the best voices in Arizona sports. He literally has, I think, the best voice in Arizona sports. The one, the only, Jody Oehler from Fox Sports 910 here in Phoenix. And Jody, what was your reaction when you saw the news hit that Kevin Durant would not play?
Like everybody else, you're just like, this can't be real. Like, this can't be real. I mean, there was no one on the court. There was no action. He didn't, get rolled up on. It was just like air and the basketball gods conspiring against the Phoenix Suns once again. And, honestly, at this point, after watching it for 3 games, it almost felt too good to be true for those 3 games. So you're like, okay, I guess we had to be knocked back down again.
Oh, yes, we did. We get knocked down quite a bit here in Arizona. We get up. It takes us a while. How much do you think this sets the Suns back when it comes to talk of a title?
Pretty significantly. Obviously people that watch the 3 games are like, wow, this looks better than I thought. Kevin Durant missed a couple weeks with a knee injury. He pops in. They're combining for 70-plus points. They're boat racing teams. They beat the Mavericks. How much do they really need him? And it's like, listen, once you get to the playoffs, the defenses are different. The intensity is different. They're going to need to know each other's game a little bit better. Not Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, who are basically kindred basketball spirits that have found true basketball love with each other. It's everybody else. It's everyone else needs to know. Not everyone is a basketball savant like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And so I think it's pretty significant, and I think it's going to be an additional challenge with a few games in the regular season maybe to tune up before a first-round matchup, by the way, Mark, that could be the Warriors, could be the Clippers, could be the Mavericks, it could be a bunch of really good teams.
Yeah, and I worry that they mortgage the future, and there's some buyer's remorse. Now, it's only 3 weeks, but when you look at the trade and you look what Mikal Bridges is doing right now in Brooklyn, do you have buyer's remorse?
I don't know. Here, I'm going to try to convince you, all right? I'm sure a million people have tried to convince you not to think that they mortgage the future. Mikal Bridges is putting up some really nice numbers for a really, pretty bad Brooklyn Nets team. Most dudes in the NBA, if you just gave them a green light on a team when wins and losses don't really matter, they're going to put up nice numbers. Mikal's a nice player. You are not building a championship contender around Mikal Bridges now, next year, or anytime in the future. Very nice player. I hate to be in the position to be like trashing one of the most beloved Suns in recent years, but he's not a championship level player to build a team around. What you're seeing in Brooklyn is there's no one else. They need someone to get buckets. They're not winning very many games. When the emphasis is on winning, then I think there'll be more of a scrutiny on Mikal Bridges. The second thing is, with draft picks, you can always find draft picks. They're always around. There's always picks. And the Suns have a first-round pick every other year with a championship caliber roster. It's kind of ideal. You don't want to have to pay a rookie and stash him on the bench every year. And then the third thing why I don't have buyer's remorse is because I think people mortgaging the future, but I don't know the future's ever been brighter when you've got an owner that's willing to do whatever it takes to win. I don't think that's a one-off thing. I think as long as Matt Ishbia is dialed in, this team will find a way to compete, to contend. They might end up spending more money this offseason to make the Warriors look like the Dollar General store. Like Matt Ishbia's got deep pockets, and he's going to spend it, man.
Do you think a title is still a possibility this year?
Yeah, I think a possibility. I think that's the best way to phrase it. I don't think it's more likely than not, but I do think it's a distinct possibility. Did I offer enough wiggle room there? I didn't. I'm not like going hard first take. Yes, the Suns, or no. I try to deliver some nuance, and to me, yeah, it's a possibility. But I think with this injury, it's less likely than it was 36 hours ago, for sure.
Well, and I wonder, too, as much as I miss Mikal Bridges, not just with pregame warm-ups, it's not anywhere near as entertaining, but his defense. And at the end of his time here in Phoenix, I was watching him play with my son, and my son said, oh, my gosh, he looks like Kobe, which there were a couple times where he went off, and you're like, yeah, he can score. But if you take his defense out of the equation, the Suns, I don't know that Kendrick Perkins made the point the other day that there's just not the depth there Do you worry about that? Like if Chris Middleton wants to go off, who's going to guard him?
Yeah, no, depth is a huge concern. I mean, they're basically playing role player roulette for the next 2 weeks and or next 2 months potentially. And I don't know that anyone has a tremendous amount of confidence in any of those guys. Josh Okogie can get after it defensively. He's a pretty big liability shooting the rock. You know, T.J. Warren got real old real fast. At first, I thought in that trade he might have been a forgotten guy. Well, there's a reason he was a forgotten guy. He can't even get off the bench with Monty Williams. Terrence Ross, we saw what Luka did to him on Sunday. That's what every team is going to do, and that's what we know the NBA playoffs are about. It's about hunting and finding the weak link on the floor, and the Suns have a few guys. Ultimately, Mark, I think what the story of this season is going to be is, man, it's amazing that Kevin Durant's on this team. By the way, he's under contract with this team for a few more years. This summer, I think there's going to be some reconfiguring of this team salary-wise. I don't think you can spend $30 million on a center who's probably going to get less than 10 touches a game. And that's not a knock on DA. I think he's a very good role player, but he made sense at $30 million when he didn't have Kevin Durant. With Kevin Durant, you'd probably rather use those resources in a different way, is my guess. Unless they win the championship, then, hey, everybody wins.
So is it fair to say that this time next year it is championship or bust?
Yes, 100%. I think – listen, the hardest part about the Kevin Durant injury is that we now have to potentially hold our breath for another full NBA regular season to get back to this point where he would be healthy next year. So, yes, with a 35-year-old superstar with a team button up against the luxury tax, they are facing a mandate to win a championship at some point in this window. And as we've seen, like, I don't know what you think about this, Mark. Like, I thought about this with Kevin Durant of, do we just expect too much from older guys in sports now? Because a few guys have been incredible later into their careers, but like 35, and I'm in my 40s now, so I hate saying this, but like 35's pretty old for every other generation of NBA superstars. But with Kevin Durant, we're like, oh, he's going to be amazing. I don't know how much longer we're getting peak Durant. And I think that's a big concern going forward, but still worth what they paid, in my opinion.
Well, I think, yeah, just with nutrition and training and just seeing Tom Brady and LeBron and,
right.
Roger Clemens. And wait, that's a bad example. But, I mean, you have seen guys do it, and you've seen guys do it at this high of a level, and you've always seen Kevin Durant play at this high of a level, and you think, why wouldn't it continue? But you look at Chris Paul, there's some concern. I think – last year's playoff series against the New Orleans Pelicans just took something out of him. He had to dig so deep. Maybe he gets back to that spot in the playoffs where he has to dig that deep, but there's concern. Do you share my concern? Not only about Paul, but, Campaign, love the guy. I can't say that that's not going to happen, what happened last year in the playoffs this year.
Campaign, you're a parent, so you can understand this analogy. Campaign is the kid at the public playground that you just have to keep eyes on at all time because something insane. You just get a feeling every time the kid is within like a 10-foot radius that he's going to throw sand in your kid's face
But it could be awesome too. It could be totally awesome.
He could also do a double backflip off the top slide and stick the landing. You're like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like, you just have to keep eyes on him at all times because it's wildly unpredictable. Yeah. Chris Paul, listen, the crazy part about Chris Paul is like Kevin Durant is 35, but he's a very slender 35. The problem with Chris Paul is like for many people as they get older, he's also gotten a little bit wider, it felt like, as this season approached, which here's my defense of Chris Paul, but I do share your concern. For 2 years, we were like, Chris, why are you playing all out in, December and January when we really need you in the playoffs? Then Chris Paul shows up this year. He's a little puffy. He's a little out of shape. He's not really Chris Paul. He's load managing kind of the right way, the old school way, and everybody freaks out. Now, what I'm freaking out about are the shooting percentages, right? I think that's the big concern is, to me, the Dallas Mavericks sagged off Chris Paul, daring him to shoot like he was Josh Okogie or Jock Landale. And Chris Paul's got to hit those shots. First of all, he's got to take those shots. 4 of 5 the other night from three-point land, which was very important against the Thunder. If he shoots the ball well, the Phoenix Suns can win the NBA championship. I think Chris Paul's the biggest X factor on this team. If he shoots the ball well, assuming everybody's healthy, they can win the NBA championship. If he looks like a kid shooting a three-pointer for the first time with an adult-sized basketball, the way he has looked at times this year, the Phoenix Suns cannot win an NBA championship.
Bigger concern for you in the playoffs, the Warriors throwing in threes and just being able to throw the switch, or the Denver Nuggets with Murray taking another step?
Man, I have continuously thought the Warriors were going to flip a switch. I have thought the Warriors deserve the respect that comes with being a defending champion, just taking their time in the regular season. But they've lost so many games. They've lost so many games on the road. I do think I'm kind of itching for that fight in the playoffs. Like, I would love to see the Suns and Warriors finally stare each other down in the best of 7. But I think the Nuggets concern me more. Listen, Jokic, this is probably a topic for a different podcast. Like, I do not think Jokic should win a third straight NBA MVP. I just think it's crazy that he would win a third straight MVP. But that team is really good, and Reggie Jackson was a really nice pickup. They have 3 dudes that shoot 40% from the three-point line. That's dangerous in a playoff series. I do think the Suns could beat them, but I think that would be a meat grinder of a series.
Man, Reggie Jackson, as much as it pains me to admit this, when he was with the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals against the Suns in 2021, I grew an affinity for – he's like an assassin. Like, with the glass – he, like, puts the glasses on and just – I mean, he's like Vinnie Johnson used to be with the Pistons. It's like the microwave. Right. All of a sudden, Reggie's on fire, and you've got no shot.
2 years ago, he was the best or second best player on a Western Conference Finals Clippers team. And then this year, they're just like, we're just gonna set you free and bring in Russell Westbrook. Like, that's one of the weirdest decisions I've ever seen a contending team make in the NBA. Because I would take, and I think 29 other teams would take Reggie Jackson over Russell Westbrook every day of the week. And then they just delivered it. Not only did they buy him out, Mark, he ended up with a team that's the number 1 seed in the West, the same conference as the Clippers. It makes no sense. It's absolutely insane.
Thoughts on if the Suns were to match up with the Los Angeles Lakers and the frustration that's still there from 2021? Do you want any part of LeBron and AD, or is it more like, bring them on. The Suns can blow right through them?
Okay, so I got to qualify this here because I do live and work professionally in Phoenix. I hate the Lakers. I despise the city of Los Angeles, their sports teams.
The traffic, the people.
I find them obnoxious.
Beach is
the
nice.
Traffic stinks. Beach is
Disneyland,
okay if you can. I'm not a billionaire, so I couldn't afford to live near the beach. It's not my jam. I want nothing to do with a healthy Lakers team. I want nothing to do. I will happily let some other Western Conference team take on that challenge in the first round. Listen, when they are healthy, if they ever get healthy, and obviously that's a huge if, that team got a lot better at the trade deadline. Like Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, Austin Reeves are like real deal role players. Anthony Davis, when he's been on the floor, has been really, really good. I want no part of that because LeBron James, like Kevin Durant, when he's on the floor, he still looks like LeBron James, despite the magical hairline that disappears and reappears like a magic trick. I want no part of the Lakers. I want the Kings. I want the Mavericks. There's a couple teams that I'm licking my chops at.
Grizzlies. You want the do you want the Grizzlies or no? Do you? I don't know if that's like the psycho in the room that you're kind of you might throw sand in your face or bashing your car windows.
The whole team of campaigns basically. So the John Morant stuff's pretty weird, right? There's a lot of speculation right now. He's going to miss the rest of the season. We don't know. They said the next 4 games with John Morant. I'm not afraid of Memphis. But again, and by the way, I think the Suns can beat any team in the West. I'm not scared. I don't think the Suns should be like ducking teams based on the end of the season. If we're just talking preference, though, Memphis, man, you remember last year that place is tough to play and win in Memphis. So they're not only a team full of campaigns, they feel like a city full of campaigns and Ja Morants, and I'm not signing up for that unless I have to. And if the Suns do have to play them, I do think they would beat them. But they're on my list of like, yeah, maybe let someone else take care of that.
Yeah, very fitting that I think Campaign is from Memphis, so that's very fitting right there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. This is the most like TV tabloid. Need to fill some time. Don't really have any. We didn't go do a feature on a high school swimmer, but okay. In like 5 weeks, will we be talking? Will the headline read, "Is the NBA regular season even worth playing? Does it even matter?"
The last 6 games of the regular season matter. I think we found that out last year when Cam Johnson got injured, and then the last 2 weeks the Suns took a nosedive that they never really pulled themselves out of. So, no, I mean, the regular season, they got problems. And I think reducing the amount of games is the obvious answer. They'll never do that because teams will lose local revenue with local gates and all that. But I think the NBA regular season still matters. I just can't get over, and again, I'm getting older, Mark, but like, it used to be a big deal when one superstar got injured for any period of time. And now it feels like every sport, every year, every week, someone is getting injured. And my completely unscientific, made up out of thin air, talk radio guy, let me pull this out and throw it out there is, I think players are built like Ferraris and they need to be built like work trucks. And I just feel like the grinds of these season are just wearing these dudes down, but everyone's injured all the time. It's just now it's not really a postseason to determine who the best team is. It's a postseason to determine who the healthiest team is that was at least pretty good during the regular season. And I don't know why that's that. We're supposed to have more information and more advancements, and yet dudes are getting injured more and more, at least to my unscientific eye.
Well, and is it as simple as just a team throwing in more threes and winning the game? I was joking the other day that I think the Western Conference might hinge upon Maxi Kleber getting back for the Dallas Mavericks and being able to make threes. I worry the Suns, great mid-range game, great mid-range shooter, but if you get in a 3-ball contest, I don't know that they win that one.
Well, I mean, to flip it a little bit, but to expand on that, if Josh Okogie or Terrence Ross or one of those rotation guys hits 3 threes in a game, they're unbeatable. I mean, no one's going to beat them. I mean, it's basically a 3-point contest for those role players. Now, there's also a good chance in a best-of-7 series that 4 out of the 7 games, Okogie and Torrey Craig are going to go 1 for 9 from the 3-point line. But, yeah, I think the NBA the offensive numbers are out just crazy right now. The defense is going to tighten up. And I think, to me, that's really what we're seeing, Mark, is like the difference between the regular season and postseason was always a pretty stark contrast. I think they're 2 completely different sports. I don't even think the regular season really even looks like or anything resembling postseason basketball, because once you get into the postseason, it's a little more familiar. There's a little bit more strategy than just bombs away from 3. But it's pretty wild right now. It's like the difference between the XFL and the NFL, regular season and postseason NBA.
Can you name all the XFL teams? Go.
I know that one of them I've bet on and lost, and that's the last time. I can't.
Roughnecks.
The team in Vegas, Vipers.
Yeah,
Vipers.
Am I mixing my USFL and XFL teams?
Sea Dogs?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah. I like the Battle.
I'm just making that up. Yeah. Selms, maybe.
Right. I think the winner of the XFL, that might be the hockey team. We'll get research on that one. I think the XFL and the USFL should face off. And that would make
is that like the sports version? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Well, you know what? And I am watching those broadcasts. I'm like, okay, here's what broadcasts are going to look like in 5 years once they get a drone cleared on the field.
I just want that paycheck. I just want somebody to pay me to talk about the XFL and USFL with no pressure, and I'm just getting like 6 figures, and there's no chance it's leading to anything, but you're just like, sure, I'll take your money. That sounds good.
Yeah, we should start a podcast. Is this an XFL team or a USFL team? Then our 2 listeners My mom and your mom would be very happy. Final question for you here about the Phoenix Suns. If they play Dallas, you think they're going to win? How much? How much does the franchise need that one?
Really bad. It's a real rivalry. It really means something. And Devin Booker and Luka Doncic really dislike each other. And it pains me to say, but Luka zinged Devin again at the end of that game last week when he said, hey, maybe not wait until the final 3 seconds when I've missed the layup to talk trash. Devin's got to back it up, man. Talk your game. I'm all for it, but you got to back it up if these two teams play. I've made the case, Mark. I just want Adam Silver to go full-blown Dana White, Vince McMahon. Make the match, you coward. Forget about rigging the draft for Victor Wembanyama. Nobody cares about that weirdo 7'4" Frenchman. Like, give us Mavs, Suns, best of 7. Everybody wins. That is what the NBA used to be about. I think even casual fans could tune into that without a rooting interest and be like, oh, I'm picking a side in this. And it's not for the NBA championship. It's probably not for the Western Conference championship. But to me, Maverick Suns is the absolute best of what the NBA can be right now. And just Adam Silver, I believe 3 people are the listening audience. It's your mom, my mom, Adam Silver. Make the match, you pencil neck geek.
Here's a vote for Jody Oehler to be the next NBA commissioner, by the way. You've been listening to him here on the Extra Point Podcast. Hey, we really appreciate your time today. Really appreciate the perspective. And, hey, let's do this in studio around March Madness. We have about 4,000 shows we have to do, so let's get you down here. Go get the dry cleaning, and let's make this happen.
I'm game, Mark. Hey, man, I appreciate the invite, and always a pleasure.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.